we would see Gravenberch drop right in to form a back five, it being a stupid thing from Xavi Simons. Space that Romero was vacated after he went full running of the Bulls, Liverpool just went ballistic. Right, hello everybody, welcome back to The Golden Sky. I'm Tom. Today I'm going to be analysing Liverpool's 2-1 win over Spurs from the weekend. As always, I'm going to be showing you lots of clips from the game. I have plenty to show you. But first, let's look on the tactics board as always to show you what you need to be looking out for when we look at those clips later on. Let's get into it. Okay, so here on the screen, you will see how the two sides set up in the game. Now, don't worry about who Spurs actually played. That's why their dots are blank. It's important to focus on Liverpool here and who we played in the game. So this is how we lined up, and it was a bit of a Christmas tree formation. Due to Isak being on the bench, it was less of a diamond where we might see this sort of formation, obviously with the diamond in the midfield and the two strikers. It was more of Wirtz and McAllister as two 10s behind Ekitike as a sort of Christmas tree, pyramid almost style formation. Now, the important things to look at in this video today are going to be, again, our build-up and, again, our defensive shape and how they changed when Spurs went down to 10 men. So let's put Liverpool in a build-up phase. So what we did was we moved Kirkes wide and Bradley wide, like we normally do. Ekitike was up front, as per. Now, Wirtz was operating in his usual best area, the left half space, as people like to call it. Sort of not too wide on the left wing, but in this sort of left number 10 area. Now, McAllister, I think, struggled in this game a little bit to impose himself and get involved, especially in the first half. And that's because, for me, he was playing as that second striker a lot of the time with Ekitike. You'd often see him behind Bentancur. That's something you're going to see in the clips I'm going to show you later. Szoboszlai was in his usual spot. And then Gravenberch would be floating in front of the midfield for Spurs, trying to build up for Liverpool. Now, we saw, again, this new sort of build-up phase Liverpool have been rolling with recently, with Jones as part of a back three to help try and build up. And at times, we were getting some joy with this. Now, the first half was quite uneventful, let's say, but it was something to take note of. Sometimes we would often also bring in McAllister into the middle, and we'd end up with like a 3-2-5 with the fullbacks joining this sort of attack here as a 5. You might see this in the game later. And this is how we approach the game. So how did we set up defensively? Well, this was also quite interesting, I thought. We had, obviously, the back four. Let's just put them back where they were. So Konate goes back, Bradley goes back. Jones would be on this left side. Wirtz defended as a left midfielder. Gravenberch we'll talk about in a second. And then we often had this sort of formation. So it looks like a 4-1-4-1 at times. But at times also we would see Gravenberch drop right in to form a back five at times. We would see this. He was following Bergvall, who was making runs forward, and he would drop right in like this to cover him, and he'd go as far back as the back five, sometimes as a right centre-back, sometimes as a middle centre-back. And this is crucially when Spurs had 11 players on and they were trying to build up. Now, Wirtz defended as a left midfielder again. And something else interesting I want you to look at in this game is how we pressed. Ekitike would always come to this right-hand side. So let's just move Spurs forward. This is Xavi Simons, for example. Kudus would stay wide. They'd have Spence come inside like this, leaving Van der Ven and the midfielders on the ball with Romero, Bentancur, and so on and so forth like this. And Liverpool would not press so high up the pitch. We were quite happy for Spurs to have the ball here. And Ekitike would stand over on this right-hand side near Van der Ven. Now, this then meant that Curtis Jones was the one often leading the press for Liverpool. Take note of that. You're going to see that a lot in this game. He would often lead the press. Sometimes we'd see McAllister here like this as well as a front two, and Gravenberch would push forward and we'd go in this 4-4-2. But more often than not, Gravenberch was dropping back either as a holding midfielder or a 5 at the back, third centre-back, and Jones would lead the press with Ekitike on this right-hand side. I think this is because Spurs clearly wanted to play down the right-hand side. So we said, we will just cut off the left-hand side of the pitch completely then with Ekitike, and we'll shuffle you out to your preferred side, and we'll get all our players over here, and we'll just bank that we can defend you one-on-one, which we did. Now, ultimately, Spurs get the player sent off, so let's take a player off for Spurs and show you quickly how Liverpool adapted to this and how Spurs adapted as well. in the game once they went down to 10 men. Forget the 9 men for a moment. That's not really relevant in this one, as it was only the last 10 minutes or so, and we couldn't defend when Spurs had the 9 men. So when they had the 9 men, they basically dropped the left winger. They defended like this, and what they did is they went very, very narrow. And teams often do this when they have a player less. They go narrow, and the space opens up on the wings. Now, without any wingers really on the pitch, we made an adjustment by putting Florian Wirtz a lot wider in the second half, and he took up this position a lot to then pull players out. You'd see Kirkes come in, and he would often be here looking for underlapping runs like this. This is something you're also going to see. And then eventually, when we took Bradley off, and we ended up with Isak off as well, and we had Frimpong on here, he would do the same thing on the right-hand side. And we really started to stretch the width of our play to stretch Spurs, and that created a couple of goals for us, which you'll see in the game. So let's go and look at the clips. Keep that in mind, our shape when we're building up, our shape defensively, and how we adapted once Spurs got the red card. Let's go and look at some clips of the game. All right, so first one, and you're seeing immediately how we sort of lined up in this game with the back three. This has been a very common theme of our last few games since we sort of moved to this system. Started really against Leeds. And you see in here, the 3-2, and then it's a 5. Bradley is on this far right-hand side as well. We saw this a lot in pre-season, and we didn't see it that much once the season actually started, but this is what we're seeing at the start of this game. It's a 3-2-5. We've got so many midfielders on and not that many wingers, so we're using our fullbacks for the width, which you can do when you have a diamond system, and you use your centre mids to pack the middle and try and make passing lanes like this, which Jones can maybe look to exploit with his very good passing range. So that's what happens here. Jones finds Gravenberch in the middle. He's confident taking the ball on the half turn. He's very good at it. Does so here. We break a line of Spurs press and we get Wirtz on the ball. And he's the one who always, for Liverpool, kicks the game into its next gear. We'll be slow in build-up. It'll find Wirtz, and he's always the one to do a quick pass or transition the play into its next phase all the time. It doesn't always work, but he's always the one to try it. And on this occasion, he gets the ball down to Bradley, and we're in a good position. You see the players are able to get forward. We've got 4 sort of, players bombarding themselves towards the box with the 2 runners from midfield as well. Now, Bradley here, for me, could slot this ball into Szoboszlai as the underlap, which we see a lot on the left-hand side. He does go for the cross, and his aim with this cross is to whip it across everybody for Ekitike to run onto. Now, he doesn't quite get it right. The ball comes in too narrow. Doesn't have enough bend on it, doesn't get deep enough towards the 6-yard box. It's actually behind Ekitike, and Romero can clear, but it's good play from us in our build-up. It actually was a sign of us trying to do something from settled possession. We've been so bad at settled possession for so long this season. We are now starting to improve, which is good. So here we see a sign of our defensive shape early on in the game. I want you to look at Gravenberch. This is the key here. Joining up with the back line as a clear member of the back line, which becomes a back 5. You've got the back 5 here, and then you've got the midfielders in front of them. It's pretty plain and obvious to see he's offering an extra body in the middle. This is likely to deal with our defensive frailties that we've had so many of so far this season. The idea being get more players back. It's quite a simple, basic idea, but one that I quite like. We have been doing better defensively, and we should have had a clean sheet in this game as well if it wasn't for another set-piece goal, which we do seem unable to stop. I think it's 11 so far scored against us in the Premier League this season. Again, you see him here. Spurs have recycled the ball. You see Gravenberch, he's got no urgency to get out of this back line. He is standing in it. He's actually further forward than Konate is, who's the 5th member. Ekitike is back now, helping out. Everybody is back, partaking in the defensive stand. Wirtz is the left midfielder. Szoboszlai is the right. And you've almost got 2 strikers here pressing as a front 2, even though it's very, very deep in our own half. Again, the ball comes out wide. I want you to take note of Kirkes. He always does this all the time. Defends with his hands behind his back. If you haven't seen that already, you'll never unsee it once it's pointed out to you. He is constantly having his hands behind his back, and it's both good and bad. He doesn't concede penalties as a result from handballs. But sometimes I do think he lack a bit of balance in doing this. Didn't seem to affect him in this game. He actually does well in this one again. His level seems to be going up, and he actually blocks this cross from Porro. It does ricochet back to Porro, who then lofts it in. But again, you see Gravenberch, His job is marking Kolo Muani, and you can see how we match up here and how having Gravenberch back is helping us. Van Dijk's got Kudus, Gravenberch has Kolo Muani, Konate has Bergval, and Bradley has Spence at the back post if there's any danger to come. In theory, Spurs shouldn't really get a chance here. Now, the ball gets lofted in, and Jed Spence actually gets up really high. I don't know, maybe his Christmas odd boots gave him special powers. He gets up high, and this is where we see our defensive issues are still there for teams to exploit. Because we just switch off. Gravenberch switches off, Van Dijk switches off. They're just ball watching. They're not close enough really to Kolo Muani. Spence wins the header, and Kolo Muani gets a free header at goal, which luckily for us, he just taps it down to Alisson to save. But on another day, if this is Igor Thiago, Erling Haaland, someone else excellent in the air, this ball could go in this far corner, in the near post, or in the far corner, and Alisson doesn't have a chance. So, back into our build-up then, we now see Konate on the ball, and this is an example of how, when we don't have Jones helping us in build-up, how poor we can actually be. This is a good contrast to what we saw before in the first clip, where we built up quite nicely through midfield, got into a crossing position. This is what happens when we don't build up, and this actually leads to the red card, so it all feeds in nicely. Konate has the ball. Now, you can see he has options, like he can go to Bradley here, he can maybe keep dribbling forwards, and then maybe Kolo Muani gets drawn in, Bergval too, and he can maybe find Gravenberch, maybe find Szoboszlai. There's different options for him, but he's not that confident on the ball, especially when he's not got players around him to help support him. So he goes back to Van Dijk, but now, with Jones forward in the midfield here, Spurs can match us up one-on-one at the back, and it doesn't give these centre-backs as much time on the ball. So Van Dijk has to make a decision quickly here. You can either push this past to Kerkez, who will then immediately be under pressure by Kudus. It's a bit of a risky ball, or he can basically go backwards. Because we have no one else helping in this area. He's not got the angle to pass it to Jones or Gravenberch really, unless Gravenberch makes a quick dart to this area and Van Dijk can fizz it in, but it's risky. Xavi Simons makes a tackle. So he chooses the right thing. He goes back, and that's what causes this red card tackle by Xavi Simons. You see it there, the point of impact on Van Dijk's calf. It's a crazy tackle from Xavi Simons. When you look at the context of the game, there's no danger here for Spurs. There's no reason for him to make this tackle. However, I actually am going to give him the benefit of the doubt here. I don't think he means to make this tackle. I think this was a complete accident, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So, any Spurs fans watching, I'm about to give you some, I don't want to say justice, because for me it is a red card, but I'm about to give you some reprieve maybe from it being a stupid thing from Xavi Simons, because I don't think he means to stand on Van Dijk at all. If you look here, he's actually just running. He's running after Van Dijk. He's trying to sprint across to try and, maybe get a block in, maybe poke the ball away, maybe just hassle Van Dijk and put some pressure on. You can see his stride, he's sprinting fast, so it's elongated. He's trying to step with his left foot, and I think he's simply just trying to step on the floor with his left foot. But he just so happens to land with his foot on Van Dijk. This is the same stride. He just lands on Van Dijk's leg. I don't think he's trying to make a tackle on the ball here, and I don't think he's certainly not trying to injure Van Dijk. I just think he gets really unlucky. You see, he's not even looking at where his foot is. He's simply just trying to run, I think. And he lands on Van Dijk. This still image is always going to be a red card. Guys, the point of contact is too high. It's reckless, but I don't think he means it. But the whole game changed from that point on, as you would expect with a red card. You see Spurs' shape now. They basically just sacked off the left winger, and they went really narrow, really compact. You can see the back four is really narrow. And Liverpool already have space on the wings. We're using Kerkez as our widest player here, and Bradley over on the right-hand side. Now, this stayed this way for the first half, and then we changed in the second, like I'll show you. But this is how we tried to build up. And I want you to look at Florian Wirtz compared to Alexis McAllister in this passage of play. This is a player who is an expert at playing number 10. Someone really, really comfortable on the ball in tight areas. His movement is fantastic. And this is a player who is being asked to maybe play slightly out of position as a second striker, a number 10, a number 8, a number 6. It's a bit unclear for Maka at the minute. And his role is a little bit also unclear in this passage of play, because he doesn't do the same things that Wirtz does here. Wirtz makes one movement to the ball. Gravenberch can find him. McAllister is stood behind players. He's never going to get the ball here. Gravenberch doesn't pass it to Wirtz. He goes to Szoboszlai. And now we see Szoboszlai can pass this ball out to Kerkez again. Maybe come to the other side if he wants. But look at McAllister. He's never going to get the ball here. Archie Gray is stood directly in front of him. People will be saying McAllister is hiding. I don't think he's hiding. I think he's carrying out an instruction to play high as a second striker off Ekitike and occupy the defence. But it's just a difference in him and McAllister and him and Wirtz as the number 10s. Because once the ball goes wide, you see now, look, Florian Wirtz is alive again. He makes another run. He makes runs all game long. Kirkas has the opportunity to play it to Wirtz into this underlap. Now we see this a lot in the second half, but the other way around. It's a great run from Wirtz. It doesn't come to him. It goes back to Gravenberch. But he's not finished there. He could sulk. He could say, I've made 2 runs. I've not got the ball on either occasion. He doesn't. He moves again. He's now found himself in a nice pocket of space where there's no Spurs players. And Gravenberch, I'll give him some credit. His passing is not always the best. I think it's one of the weakest areas of his game, this progressive pass. But he does a good job here. Punches this ball into Wirtz, who obviously takes it beautifully on the half turn. Something you must be good at if you're a top quality number 10, taking the ball on the half turn. On the spin, in one motion, gets his shot away and almost scores. Vicario makes a save. Ekitike comes in at the back post and is close to getting onto it himself. It's good play from Wirtz, from Liverpool, using the width, moving Spurs around, and it was one of our best moves of the whole first half. Now, I put a few more pictures in here just to show our defensive shape with Gravenberch. Thought it was really interesting. In this one, you can see Ekitike is clearly shading more towards Van der Ven. Maybe we wanted to stop him being able to make marauding runs forward like he is capable of. Maybe we were more comfortable with Romero on the ball. That did pay dividends in the second half. You see Gravenberch is clearly in a back 5. We are literally in a 5-4-1 here. Now, Spurs at this point in time weren't really causing us many problems at all, but it was still us being safe. Again, here we are. I want you to look at how we get in our defensive shape here. This is a much deeper part of the pitch, but it's interesting to see how we react to when Spurs get the ball and when they start to build up. You see, we're not quite set yet. We've kind of got players dotted around all over the place. No one's really in position. McAllister is even saying sort of, where do you want me to go, guys? Am I going to press here? Am I going to go fill up my role? What am I going to do? And you see Gravenberch, he's calling something. I don't know if he's telling McAllister, you go, you stay. But look how quickly we react to this. It's actually quite refreshing to see. Bentancur goes back, and he's gone back, and Liverpool are already in this, midfield. They're still talking to each other. You can see McAllister, he's still talking. Ekitike's talking. Gravenberch is dropping back with Bergvall. And we've got in our shape. Wirtz has dropped in as that left midfielder. And now we're looking okay. Now, the ball goes into Romero, and now we see Jones leading the press. Now, from centre mid, he's the one, he jumps off Bentancur, jumps onto Romero. McAllister fills in the gap. Ekitike is not interested in going over this side of the pitch whatsoever. He stays over there. Gravenberch is not so deep here. He's in the 4-1-4-1 sort of position. He's just prowling to make sure if this ball comes into Bentancur, he can be a line of defence. I thought it was quite a good setup. Jones pushes the pressure onto Porro. He passes the ball straight out of play. It's actually good from us. Something that I've criticised a lot this season. We seem to be improving at our press and our build-up a little bit in recent weeks. Again, put this one in as an example. Van der Ven's on the ball. Ekitike is over on his side. It's clear as day to see this was a tactic in this game. And Curtis Jones, again, is leaping onto Bentancur already. He knows the ball's coming there. He's the one leading the press. McAllister's dropped in. Jones pushes onto Bentancur, who is forced to make a quick decision, and that's Jones leading the press again. Now, second half, we made adjustments, and that's because obviously we had half time, we bring Isak on, and Spurs had the 10 men, so we could make a plan for that. And the plan came when we made the switches in the wide areas, but I'm going to show you an example first of how that space came about when we're not exploiting it all that well. Szoboszlai is narrow. He went to right back after the first half with Bradley coming off injured. But at this point, we don't really have anyone on the right wing at all. We had basically no right wing presence until Frimpong came on. I thought that was a good sub by Slot in the end. The ball comes out to Jones, and even without the right winger, we see Christmas Boots and Bergvall come out to put some pressure on Jones, which allows the ball to come back to Szoboszlai to then whip one into the box first time. And immediately here, what we're going to see is the effects of us having more box presence with Ekitike and Isak on than McAllister as the second striker. Obviously, that's not rocket science, McAllister on the pitch up front instead of Isak, you're not going to have as much box presence. But we see it here. Ekitike is able to win the ball. It actually lands to Wirtz, and then they sort of tackle him and a corner's given. But Isak's in there, if Ekitike gets this across, maybe Isak can run onto it. Wirtz is in there. We've got players in from the cross available to affect the play. It's quite important that you do this when you play against 10 men. You need to crash the box, get players in, sustain attacks. So here's how we use the width in the second half. Here's the adjustment that we made to get more joy in the wide areas. Van Dijk is going to play this one out wide to Wirtz, who's stood so far wide you can't even see him on the screen. Kerkez is narrow. This is by design. They want to always get Kerkez on an underlap. They prefer this, seemingly the coaching staff, than an overlap. And you'll see why. The ball comes out to Wirtz, and he just waits for the perfect time. Kerkez is coming. Something Gakpo seems to fail to do is find Kerkez at the right time, while Wirtz finds him here. And the ball comes to Kerkez. He has time to get his cross in. Bentancur closes him down well. He does get the cross in, but it does get cleared. And it ends up coming out to Van Dijk again. And we're able to squeeze Spurs really high with their only having 10 men. We weren't really threatened by them at this point. Van Dijk finds Wirtz again on this wing. He's able to beat Porro. He's now running at Archie Gray. Kerkez is there with him if he needs him. He goes at Archie Gray. He comes inside. He's come off that wing again. We're seeing the joys of having the wide men and the space we've got available to us in the wide areas. And now Wirtz tries a little pass into McAllister here. Now, McAllister's going to lose this ball. I do wonder if there's anything else Wirtz could have done here. Am I asking too much? If he can maybe try and slip this one through to Isak. I mean, possibly. Maybe that's one you can only see in hindsight. Maybe he could have a shot. I don't actually hate what he tries to do. Just McAllister gets crowded out by Bergvall, takes a bit of a bad touch, and Spurs get possession. But that actually leads to our goal. And I have no idea what Romero is doing here at all. I really, really don't know. I think he's trying to hit Kolo Muani over the top with his left foot. Now, he's not left-footed, for one, so I don't know why he would ever try and do that. It's completely baffling. But you can see all the Spurs players are telling him, calm down, Bentancur, calm down, Kudus, calm down, Spence, go back to your goalkeeper. He's like, no way, Cabron, this is going long, and he kicks the ball straight into McAllister. It comes to Isak, he's sharp, Romero comes charging in like a raging bull. Isak's able to play this one into Ekitike. He gets onto it. First time, the space that Romero was vacated after he went full running of the Bulls. Ekitike finds Wirtz, and I was thinking, this ball from Ekitike was going to be for Wirtz to run onto and have a shot. Now, he did kill him a little bit with this pass, Ekitike. It's not really in his path. He has to slow down. Wirtz hasn't really got the burst of pace to get away here. But what he does is he uses Romero's aggressiveness perfectly against him, and Isak is deadly in this particular situation. And it's such a shame that he has now broke his leg, which is unbelievable, by the way. I mean, you could not make this up. We wait till basically Christmas to get our first Wirtz assist, Isak goal, and Isak breaks his bloody leg in the scoring of it. Unbelievable. But he makes a deadly run here. Romero comes across again, running of the Bulls. Wirtz finds this pass, perfect weight on it. Great run from Isak. Van der Ven is very quick, comes across, absolutely smashes him. Isak, no concern, doesn't even look up at Van der Ven, doesn't look at the goal once. If you watch the replay of the goal, he knows exactly where he is. Left foot, no problem. It's in, it's clinical, it's 1-0. It's a goal from forcing a mistake, and it was what we needed at a crucial time in the game. Now, I've put in here a few screenshots of the tackle of Van der Ven's onto Isak to see where I think the impact or the injury might be. I'm obviously no doctor by any means, but if he has fractured his leg, which I don't think as of recording this on a Monday evening, it's still not fully been confirmed that the extent of the fracture. But I think it's here. And what I think happens is, I think his ankle or his toe kind of gets stuck under Van der Ven's right leg here. And with Van der Ven's left leg, he sort of sweeps into the back of Isak's calf, and it creates sort of a crossing motion. If you imagine, he's being pushed this way, whilst his leg is being pushed this way like this. And I think the impact will be right here. This is doctor analysis right here. I think he's going to have this break here. Real shame for him. It really is. But later in the game, Isak comes off. We bring Frimpong on. And Frimpong goes wide right. Now, we kept Szoboszlai right back, and we used Frimpong as a winger. And this is exactly why. This is exactly why. He gets the ball so wide, you can see where he couldn't be any wider. He's stretching the play, forcing those 10 men of Spurs to really come across. Now Spence is on him, Christmas boots, Bergval's here as well. He's telling Spence, look, he's going to go this way. Everyone knows Frimpong is going to shift on his right foot. He's a bit like Doku. You know what he's going to do, but he's too quick. And he just absolutely legs Spence. And as a result of him legging Spence, he has to lunge with the red boot, trying to stop the cross because he's out of position because Frimpong's too quick. And Frimpong uses this to his advantage, just chops back on his left foot. Green boot, nowhere to be seen. Spence has to flip his body around to try and get a block in, and he actually does manage to deflect the cross. Not enough. He can't fully block it. He deflects it up into the air, and it lands right for Hugo Ekitike to absolutely launch himself in the air like he's doing the Olympic high jump. Just completely dunks on Romero. Shaquille O'Neal powers it into this corner. Well, I say powers it. He floated it really into the corner. It was a deft, elegant header that left Vicario with basically no chance. And now Spurs fans will argue this is a push and a foul on Romero. It's a big talking point. It wasn't really much made of it, was there, from VAR or anything like that? For me, if this was happening to a Liverpool defender, would I want a foul? I personally think, you might call me delusional, or you might say I'm only saying this with my Liverpool coloured glasses on, but I personally think, yes, Ekitike does have two hands in his back, but if this was Van Dijk, I'd want my centre-back to be stronger. I'd say we can't be relying on free kicks here. I want my centre-back to command the box. What Romero does is he throws his head back and his legs up in the air in such a dramatic fashion that's simply not caused by Ekitike's hands in his back. He doesn't push him hard, he doesn't whack into him. He just gives him a little nudge. And Romero sells it, and I think he almost sells it too much. I mean, look at this. He's like almost like folded up like a deck chair at this point, and Ekitike takes advantage, heads it in the net. I don't think the ref bought it as a result. Got another close-up here. This time it's Spurs' set piece that they score from. And Frimpong's involved again. What do you notice about Frimpong here? I pointed this out in the ratings. Before the corner, his headband was by his neck. And then, but just as they were about to take it, he goes to put it on. He doesn't put it on right. Now, I am messing with this a bit. But he's wearing it like Captain Jack Sparrow. I mean, he's got a bloody eye patch on, essentially, is what's happening here. And he can't see. I'd also like to ask, why is Frimpong even involved in this part of the set-piece setup? Shouldn't Frimpong be on the edge of the box, not a key, defensive personnel with the big lads? Who knows? Anyway, the ball comes in. You see Frimpong. He's only got one eye open because he's got his bloody headband round his eyes, Captain Jack. And Romero gets up and wins the header against many players. Does well, wins the first contact. Now, the ball bobbles around a little bit, and I think the important part to look at when you look at this goal is the players on the edge of the box. Now, we're going to blame Van Dijk, of course. His role is not good in this goal at all. But Gravenberch, Jones, maybe Verts a little bit, but he's actually involved here trying to stop something happening. They're just so flat-footed for me. They don't sniff the danger out. They don't smell that there could be an opportunity. They have a shot, Spurs. Van Dijk and McAllister sort of together block it. The ball ends up ricocheting out here. Kirkes, he's doing Naruto runs. He's got his hands behind his back again. He's trying to block it. He gets a bit unlucky that the ball goes through his legs and falls sort of in here. But it's so slow. Van Dijk has to be able to clear this ball. He just has to be able to. And if not Van Dijk, then Kanate. But we see Jones hasn't moved. He's completely statuary. Goodness me. He's like a statue. He's stationary. There we go. Got there in the end. And you see the others, Gravenberch, McAllister, Verts, they're not sniffing out the danger from this sort of situation. They don't sniff that this ball could come in here. They don't get themselves in. It's going to be Richarlison who scores. He sniffs the danger. He gets in there and he sweeps it in for 2-1. And from that point, Liverpool just went ballistic from that point on. The game was in total control. And from then, it was just full berserk from Liverpool. I can't even describe to you how nerve-wracking this last 15 minutes was. If you didn't watch it live, you wouldn't understand. It was mental. Spurs here, you see, they've got a cross. There's too much time on the ball here. They get the cross to come in. Van Dijk wins the header. And now we see the nervousness, the indecisiveness of our players. This is a team who, when there's a lead by a tender margin, they're not confident that it's going to stick because of what's happened so far already this season. You see the panic set in. The ball falls. Ekatike and McAllister let it bounce in their own box. I mean, the disorganisation, the lack of leadership, the lack of communication is startling. Neither of them take charge. Neither of them go to clear it. They let it bounce. Spurs get onto it again. It falls wide to Porro. And you see, he's got a real chance here to drill this one across. Maybe Richarlison gets onto it. And we're so lucky that we came away with a win in this game, because we really did try to throw it away. Kerkez, again, hands behind his back. Van Dijk's also got his behind his back, but Kerkez is just a master at this. He really is. You see here, he's actually doing a knee slide. He's a psychopath, this guy. A knee slide. He actually even deflects it. So it's good defending. He deflects it to Alisson. But just look at the defensive posture. I mean, this can't be orthodox. This can't be what's taught, surely. What's also not taught is apparently the offside rule to our youth players, because this is right at the end of the game, and I could not believe this, and I had to put it in the video to analyse because it's just astounding. We bring Neoni on. I don't know why. I guess it was just because Wirtz couldn't run anymore, so we thought, well, maybe Neoni can. But what he did was almost got us to concede a goal by this absolutely crazy offside run. But I partly blame Robbo as much in this situation, because Robbo here, all he needs to do is either run the ball down the line or take a touch and pass it back or dribble inside. He's got so many options. What he definitely shouldn't do is pass it to Trey Neoni, who stood 25 yards offside. Well, have a guess what Robbo does? Well, this free kick should tell you. They get the free kick last minute, a chance to pump it forward. They go up, they win the ball again. They were winning everything. We just could not get things clear. And watch this. 3 Liverpool players, Szoboszlai, Chiesa, Jones, they all just ball watch. All of them, they all switch off. Jones doesn't check his shoulder one time. Odebear makes the run. He gets inside. Great ball from Richarlison, finds Odebear. And then another day here, this ball comes across. Van der Ven heads it in. This lad at the back post, I don't know who it is, honestly, at this point, might head it in. They've got many players flooding the box. Something could happen. And we get very lucky that Alisson goes into Superman mode and punches the ball away genuinely like a superhero. And we managed to squeak away with the 2-1 win. But that was a nervy ending. And the last clip I'm going to show you from the game. Alright then guys, that is going to do it for today's video. I really do hope that you did enjoy. And if you did enjoy, please do click that like button. We are trying to hit 30 likes on the videos at the minute. So if you did enjoy it, please do click that like button. Let's get to that 30 like target. And if you are new around here and you enjoyed the video, please do click subscribe. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers on the YouTube channel. So if you've subscribed already, tell someone you know who hasn't subscribed if you think they'd enjoy the videos. And if you're new, click subscribe. We do this for every single game in the Premier League and most of them in the Champions League as well, any cup competitions. So if you did enjoy this type of video, there's going to be plenty more of it throughout the season. Guys, thank you so much for the support on the channel. Thank you so much for watching, podcast listeners. Thank you for listening, following the show, rating the show, all that good stuff as well. We'll be back after Christmas to preview the game against Wolves. Obviously, no video on Christmas, so I hope that you all have a good Christmas if you're celebrating. Enjoy it, enjoy the festive period, enjoy the Boxing Day with no football. Well, there's one game, but no Liverpool, so you can relax, enjoy your Boxing Day, and chill out. I'll speak to you all after Christmas, so have a good one, everybody. And thank you for watching. Speak to you very soon. Goodbye.